This woman suddenly realized with horror that her husband, who had always been so well behaved, had actually fallen for their elderly landlady. When Laura witnessed this scene, she was instantly overcome with panic. She thought her husband would step forward to explain. But to her surprise, Paul knocked her unconscious. When Laura woke up again, Paul was actually showing off his affection for the old woman right in front of her. What sent even greater chills down her spine was that Paul's reflection in the mirror looked like an old man. And the source of all these strange occurrences traced back to the very day they moved into this villa. Due to a job transfer, her husband Paul had moved his wife and child to a remote town. Although the place was a bit rundown, it was spacious and quiet. And most importantly, the rent was cheap. On the very first day after they moved in, an elderly woman came over on her own to greet them. Her name was Merlin, and she was in charge of looking after the villa. She lived in the backyard of the villa. The elderly woman was kind and friendly, which made Laura feel warm and welcome. But she didn't notice at all that there was something eerie about Merlin's smile, and strange things began to happen one after another. The next day, while her son, Matty, was playing hide-and-seek with the neighbor's kids, he accidentally fell into the cellar. It was filled with clutter. Matty discovered a mirror covered with a cloth. Out of curiosity, Matty immediately pulled the white cloth off. But just as he was making a funny face at the mirror, his reflection suddenly made a terrifying gesture at him. Fortunately, Paul heard the scream, rushed into the cellar, and carried his son out. They thought it was just an ordinary accident. But little did they know that something eerie would happen again. In his sleep, Matty suddenly stood up and walked toward the door as if sleepwalking. Even stranger was that, at that moment, Merlin was standing at the top of the stairs, beckoning to him. When Paul woke up, he realized Matty was gone. He rushed out to look for him, but found Matty sitting at the piano in the living room, his head repeatedly banging against the keys.
Yeah. What?
Laura, who had just woken up, rushed over as well, and together they carried the unconscious Matty back into the house. But just then, Paul discovered a drawing his son had made. It depicted the large mirror from the cellar inside the house. Seeing his son's interest in the mirror, Paul had it moved to the living room the very next day. But Laura couldn't shake the feeling that there was something eerie about the mirror. Just as she was about to try to talk Paul out of it, Merlin, who was standing nearby, said,
Masih bagus. Sayang kalau dibuang.
Seeing how insistent her husband and Merlin were, Laura stopped resisting. But after the mirror was moved into the living room, even stranger things began to happen with increasing frequency. One evening, while Laura was washing her face, the light suddenly began to flicker. In the darkness, a glimpse of Matty flashed by. Laura hurried to the living room, only to witness a scene that filled her with terror. Matty was trapped inside the mirror. No matter how hard she tried, nothing worked. So she grabbed the vase on the table, motioned for her son to step back, and then smashed it violently against the mirror. But to her surprise, not only was the mirror completely intact, but her son had also vanished without a trace. Laura frantically pounded on the mirror, but just then, thankfully, it had all been just a nightmare. Terrified, Laura rushed into the bedroom to look for her son, only to find that Matty wasn't there at all. But when Laura returned to the living room, she saw Merlin sitting in the rocking chair, holding Matty.
Adik yang menindur baru saja tidur.
Laura quickly carried her son back to his room. These repeated strange occurrences made Laura begin to suspect the mirror. Ever since her husband had moved the mirror into the living room, Laura had always felt that there was something eerie about it, but she couldn't detect anything unusual. Just as she was leaning against the mirror, examining it closely, she suddenly heard a faint voice coming from inside it. Before she could even react, a line of letters appeared out of thin air on the mirror.